My dad's girlfriend likes to play childish games, so I decided to get revenge. When I was 20 years old, my dad's immature girlfriend Clara had a penchant for pulling pranks in an attempt to distance me and my sisters from him. Despite living in separate houses on the same property, Dad and I exchanged house keys for emergencies, so Clara had access to mine. One day Clara must have thought that it would be a perfect way to annoy me, to start hiding important things. She started with things like hiding one slipper and put it anywhere in the property. Most of the things she hid were small or not very important things, so for the sake of having a little peace, I ignored her crap. If something mysteriously disappeared, I just started searching until I found it. But she decided to improve her game. Remote control in the fridge, PlayStation games on the roof, one shoe where the chickens slept. She was now risking damaging things. I kept ignoring her, but I told my dad that Clara was playing stupid again. I love ties, and Mom gave me one for Christmas. I loved that tie. It was the most beautiful blue I've seen. One day it got lost. Sadly, I found it a week later on the roof, sunburned and decolorized. I showed the tie to my dad. He gave the usual, "I'll talk to her." I knew it was useless. So when nobody was there, I entered Dad's house, took one of Clara's leather boot, a scarf and a wallet, put them in a plastic box and covered with water and salt, took my dad's frozen food, and put it all in my freezer. Finally, I proceeded to put the marinated clothes in the box inside the freezer. They were found 2 days later, when Dad and Clara came back from a small weekend trip. My things never got lost again. Am I the asshole for leaving $600 worth of groceries in my cart and walking out of Walmart? My wife was at an appointment, so I decided I would take my 3-year-old son grocery shopping. We spent over an hour going up and down every aisle and gathered all that we needed. I walk up to the front and there isn't a single teller open, only self-checkout. There are 8 slots in the self-checkout. All of them were full and there were over 10 people waiting in line. 4 carts were heaping just like mine. Everyone was looking around aghast, sighing heavily. I waited less than 10 minutes and estimated I would be there another 45 minutes minimum. I started wondering how to do a teller's job regarding pricing asparagus, green onions, etc. I felt rage coming on because I knew I was going to leave my wife sitting while we waited. I took my kid out of the cart and walked away, leaving the heaping cart sitting there. My sister and my wife said it was dirty for me to not stick it out, because all the meat in the cart can't be put back on the shelves per Walmart policy. Am I an asshole? Am I wrong for wanting a divorce because my wife doesn't want her son to be legally mine? I've been involved in her son's life for the last 4 years, beginning when he was just 2. He refers to me as his dad, and I'm ready to legalize that bond. However, my wife feels it's a decision her son should make when he's more mature. She's also expressed that she doesn't wish to have more children, and I've come to respect that choice. I'm feeling somewhat adrift with all this. An acquaintance of ours shared that my wife might be hesitant about legal adoption because she's wary of potential custody disputes if we ever part ways. Am I the asshole for selling our house without informing my wife? Over the past 2 years, we've had many discussions about moving to a smaller town and getting a house near the beach. 2 months ago, we bought the house for our upcoming move. We've already made the renovations we wanted, bought furniture, and will be moving into the new house soon. Since we won't be living in the city anymore, I didn't see a reason to keep the house we currently live in and sold it without notifying my wife. Considering it's solely my asset, I didn't see the need to inform her in advance. Plus, selling and buying property is always a stressful process. On the day I finalized the sale, I told her that I had sold the house, and she was furious with me for not letting her know. Just found out the cleaning lady stole from us. We've hired the cleaning lady over a website that has a cleaning subscription service. She claims to be an LVN and do cleaning as a side gig. She has come to our home 2 to 3 times and has always left the house spotless. The only downside is she's extremely slow, and it's because she's multitasking with a podcast and taking constant breaks. Today, while looking for cleaning products to clean a mess that was accidentally made, I realized that I'm missing various cleaning supplies. This was not very infuriating initially, but upon further inspection we find that my husband's Alexander Wang bracelet is missing. It's the first Christmas gift I gave him, so it has a lot of sentimental value for him. That's the first item of value we've noticed stolen, and I have a feeling more is missing, but we just haven't noticed yet. Besides the infuriating part, I would say it will be mildly infuriating to start researching for a trustworthy cleaning person. I'm currently physically limited due to a temporary circumstance, so I can't clean much and need to rely on this service. The service states online that she will bring her own supplies. I don't mind if she uses mine. I have brand new supplies, and some are ordered online for specific purposes and aren't available at local grocery stores. Various cleaning products are missing. Not just one. I understand if she mistakenly took something she had the same product of, but the majority of the cleaning stuff we own are gone. Cleaning person makes $25 an hour plus tips. We hire her once a month. We aren't rich to be having her weekly. My mom took $50 from me, so I lied and told her I didn't know where her $200 went. Me and my mother have an up and down relationship. Sometimes we'll be best friends. The next she'll wish I was never born, a burden to her. It was my payday. As soon as I got home, she demanded $50 from me. I had just given her 152 days prior. I knew what it was for. She wanted to gamble, or she was giving it to my stepdad so he could gamble. No matter how many times I told her no, she would get louder and louder and threaten me more, so I just gave in. She wasn't going to pay me back. She never does, but what could I do? A few days later, me and her were talking in her room. When she got up to leave, I saw it, $200 dropping from her wallet. When I saw it, I didn't know what got a hold of me. This felt like my way of getting revenge, being able to pay myself back kinda. I quickly pocketed the money and went on my way. A few hours later, my mom called in a frantic asking if I'd seen $200 around the house. I told her no straight to her face and hung up. To this day, she still doesn't know. I hated stealing and lying to my mother's face, but I also still feel it was deserved after years of her taking from me. I've been living with this guilt for about a month now, and it eats me alive every day, and keeps me awake at night. I'm sorry, Mom. Am I the asshole for not allowing my ex to meet our son after she abandoned us? When I was 21, I met this girl Linda in college. We started dating, and after a year, she accidentally got pregnant. I felt I was too young to be a father, but I decided that if she wanted to keep the baby, I would support them. She changed her mind a dozen times, but in the end, she chose to keep the child. So I did what I had to do. Our families weren't rich, so I left college, found a job, and started preparing for the child. My son, Leo, was born in June. I worked impossible hours and spent whatever free time I had taking care of Leo. My mother helped a lot at our apartment. In contrast, Linda's parents did basically nothing. They openly told me I wasn't welcome in their home and only spent a total of 2 hours with Leo in the months following his birth. When Leo was 7 months old, Linda left us. One day she called my father for help with Leo, and when he arrived at our apartment, she was gone. Leo was sleeping in his crib, Linda's belongings had vanished, and so had the money left in the house. I tried contacting her and visiting her parents' home, but they weren't around, and she never answered the phone. It's been 11 years since then. Now it's just me, Leo, and my father. My mother, unfortunately, passed away last year. Despite the challenges, Leo has grown up to be an amazing, cheerful, and smart kid. He is my pride and joy, and I'll do anything to protect him and make him happy. He doesn't remember his mother. A few weeks ago, Linda showed up at my door in the middle of the day. She asked to talk, and I reluctantly agreed. In summary, she said she's sorry and wants to be part of Leo's life again. I told her no. She begged, and when I refused again, she said some unkind things about me. I told her I don't care about her opinion. Until Leo is old enough to make a choice, she won't see him. Once he's old enough, I'll tell him the truth, and he can decide what he wants to do. Unfortunately, we live in a small town where rumors spread rapidly. Some neighbors are now judging me for my decision. I don't think I'm in the wrong here, and my family agrees with me. However, I'm open to outside opinions since this situation has been stressful. So, am I the asshole? Went to a concert tonight and had to go through security at the front. I keep a small satchel with me a lot of the time and had mine and my partner's phone, wallet, and keys. I also carry a flashlight with me anytime I'm downtown just in case. A fairly nice one too, a $120 Phoenix. I get up to security and he's digging through my bag and pulls my flashlight. Can't have that inside, he says. No worries, I figure I'll just walk it the mile back to my car. But then he says, "It's all right, man, I'll hang on to it for you. You can grab it from me when you come out." So like an idiot, I take his word for it, come out of the concert 3 hours later, and find the guy and he's standing next to his manager. I ask for my flashlight back, which is in his pocket. He tells me they don't return confiscated items. I look to his manager and say, "That's my flashlight in his pocket." She shakes her head and says, "Sorry, we can't return it." I look to the two cops standing next to them. They shrug. so now I'm out an extra $120 and some bum security has a new toy. Hope he's happy. Am I the asshole for yelling at my neighbor for knocking on my door at 3 a.m. without an emergency? I'm a 30-year-old male living with my fiancé and our 2 young kids, 3M and AMP 1F. Due to financial strain from the vid, we're currently living rent-free in one of my father-in-law's properties. My fiancé has severe postpartum depression, and my mental health has also taken a hit. Thankfully, we're on the path to recovery and plan to move in 6 months. To help my in-laws with expenses, we've been renting out the downstairs flat. Our recent tenant, a recently divorced man, has been problematic. He frequently disregards the sign prohibiting entry to our upstairs unit, visiting uninvited for trivial reasons. He brought a dog without permission and has displayed uncomfortably friendly behavior with our son. My fiancé finds him creepy and feels threatened by him. Last night, he banged on our door at 3 a.m., startling us all. Instead of an emergency, he was requesting we turn the power back on. Enraged, I yelled at him, pointing out the inappropriateness given our young children. My wife backed my reaction. However, the next day, my in-laws expressed their displeasure at my aggressive response. Was I wrong? Even though he's financially assisting us, his behavior felt invasive. To provide more clarity, he was merely watching TV that night. While there's a sign restricting access to our area, we hadn't verbally reinforced it. As for the electricity, it's pay as you go. We aren't accustomed to regularly topping it up since it's the off-season, but we're adjusting. Our financial struggles are severe, with some days barely covering food expenses. Living in a high-crime area, unexpected knocks in the night are alarming. Perhaps I overreacted, but his boundary-crossing behavior built up my frustration. His lack of respect makes me wary, especially as I'll be away for work, leaving my family alone. We live in a country with significant unemployment challenges due to racial biases, which forced us into our current situation after the vid shut down my business. Additionally, our in-laws have been over-involved in our affairs even before we moved in, costing us financially. I regret my outburst, but feel his intrusive actions warranted it. If he'd been more respectful earlier on, my reaction might have been different. Am I the asshole for firing our family therapist after she asked for tips? My ex and I have a 12-year-old boy who's going through some things. We found a therapist and we've been seeing her for a couple of years. It hasn't been life-changing for me in any way. In fact, it became more of a pointless chore like making your bed or folding your underwear. I might have gotten a few things out of it, but would not do it again. A few weeks ago, I had told our therapist that it's bizarre to not have to worry about money for the first time in my life. I make good money and don't have many bills. I'm saving like $1,000 a month. Last week, the therapist asked me if I could start making a copayment. I don't have a copayment because my insurance covers 100% of therapy sessions. I explained that to her. She said that was true, but maybe I could start paying like $20 in cash because she's not making a lot with what my insurance pays her, like a tip. I was at a loss for words. I said, and I suppose this has no relation to my telling you that I had disposable income from a few weeks ago? She said, of course not. It was like she was asking for a raise. I said I'd think about it. I found nothing about tipping your therapist. I talked to my ex and said I was firing the therapist. She told me not to throw away 2 years of work. And I said this therapist tried taking advantage of me. She offered to pay and I said I'm not stopping you, but I'm not doing the sessions anymore and neither is our son. The trust I had in our therapist is forever broken. I left a voicemail and text message explaining we weren't in need of services anymore. I haven't heard back. Guess what? Our lives didn't fall apart, and the therapist replied that I totally misunderstood this whole tip thing. Left girl with a $80 bar tab after being a dissociated twit. When I was single and dating in a large major U.S. city, I met up with a girl at a bar for drinks after she and I met on a dating app and she expressed interest. I come from the traditional school of dating protocol, so I tend to assume that my job, as the man, is to make sure my date feels safe and has a good time, regardless of whether or not we have chemistry or it leads to things. It's like we both made the effort to get dressed up, look nice, come out, give each other a chance. If it doesn't exactly work out, you want to respect that someone accepted your invitation and tried, except for this vapid moral monstrosity. We get a table, I try to open things up, but she sits there texting for 5 minutes while we're waiting for our order. Occasional apologies, but basically just not looking at me, an attention span of a gnat. We start talking finally, and then she starts answering her buzzing phone again. I'm trying to joke about it at first, and then it just gets painfully awkward. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Do you even see yourself? I have value too. We get our drinks. I try to restart the conversation. I make a low-level joke about how I'm going to throw it out the window. She doesn't take the hint. I order us 2 more drinks and an app, and then I realize I'm miserable. I down my drink and hit the loo. On my way out, the little gremlin in my head says, "If she's still on her phone when you come out, you're done." She is. I look the other way, and there's a service door open behind the kitchen. I turn right instead of left and exit into the sweet, sweet air of freedom. 30 minutes later, she texts, "Did you leave?" Guess I should have texted.